Welcome to the show, folks. Today we're diving into the aftermath of that landmark Epic Visu Apple ruling and what it means for mobile game developers.
Absolutely, it's a game changer in so many ways. What do you think is the most striking part of the ruling?
Well, at the heart of it is the 30% cut that Apple imposed on digital transactions. For years, developers have been stuck with that fee, which really eats into their profits. It's like paying rent every time you
Yeah.
make a sale.
Right, and that 30% fee isn't just about losing money, it's about control over the economics of mobile gaming. Developers had little say over how much they paid out just to be in the Apple ecosystem.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how this ruling opened the door for something called the direct to consumer or D2C web shop. This shift means developers now can actually bypass these walled gardens to an extent and directly reach their users. That's definitely a big deal.
So let me get this straight. Before this ruling, even if a developer wanted to sell something like in game currency, they were forced to use Apple's system and hence lose 30% of that revenue.
Precisely. And that's what stirred up so much contention. Remember when Tim Sweeney, Epic's CEO, openly criticized this cut by introducing a direct payment option with
Yes,
Fortnite? That move sparked quite the legal and even cultural shift.
and even though it led to a lawsuit, it set a precedent that eventually forced the court to rule that developers could link to outside payment methods.
Right, though it's a bit of a double-edged sword. The court allowed these external payment links, like those leading to a web shop, but still let Apple maintain control over the in-app system. So it's a partial win on both
True.
sides.
Now, what's particularly interesting is how developers are actually using these D2C web shops.
Oh, absolutely. For example, Epic itself launched a Fortnite web shop a couple of years back. Instead of funneling all transactions through Apple and taking that 30% bite, users could buy V-Bucks and cosmetics at, well, arguably more favorable prices. It's
Right.
almost like turning the tables.
And it's not just Epic. Developers across the board are experimenting with these solutions to regain a little economic freedom. Don't you think this is kind of revolutionizing the industry?
It definitely is. We're seeing companies like Exala stepping in as key enablers. They provide white label tools that let developers create secure, branded web shops quickly. That means studios can now own the customer relationship
Yeah.
without having to sweat the heavy infrastructure building. That's really the beauty of it.
I'm curious though, what about Apple? Even with these web shops in play, they're still the primary discovery platform for mobile games. Isn't that a critical factor?
You're right, and that's where the nuance lies. Apple's App Store remains incredibly dominant. Mobile game discovery, promotion, and even trust with users. It all lives in that ecosystem. So, while developers have a newfound revenue channel, it's more of a hybrid model than a
Got it.
complete overhaul.
So it's like a two-tier system. Casual players might make in-app purchases, but the really engaged ones could be directed to these web shops for better deals.
Exactly. And that's a really smart approach. Think about it. The casual users get their quick buys, and the more engaged players, the ones who want discounts and maybe even exclusive offers, are funneled to the web shop. This dual approach can significantly bump up developers' margins. It's like having the best of both worlds.
Yeah, but here's a bit of a challenge, right? While X Solar and these external platforms simplify the process, aren't there still strict guidelines from Apple that complicate things?
That's a fair point. The ruling lets links to external payment systems exist, but they're wrapped up in Apple's guidelines, so it's not a free for all. Developers have to carefully navigate those rules, ensuring they comply to avoid any further bans or complications. And honestly,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it feels like you're still dancing around Apple's restrictions.
True. And I've heard concerns that despite all these innovations, Apple still holds a lot of power simply because of its platform's ubiquity.
Absolutely. And let's not forget the looming regulation. The European Union's Digital Markets Act and continued scrutiny by US lawmakers suggest that the battle over platform power is far from over. We might
Yeah.
be just at the beginning of a larger tech industry reckoning.
It's like a chess game, isn't it? On one hand, you have these innovative moves by developers, and on the other, the giant platform decks still have many tricks up their sleeves.
Exactly. It's like the developers are slowly reclaiming control bit by bit, but they're still playing on a board that Apple largely set up. Definitely a
Hmm.
strategic tug of war.
And Xsola's role in this is huge. Their suite of tools, from fraud prevention to handling 1,000 local payment methods, that's no small feat.
Right. Xsola is essentially offering developers, especially the mid sized indies, to even global publishers, a turnkey solution. It's like handing them the keys to their own mini payment kingdoms without building the castle from scratch. It
Exactly.
really lowers the barrier to entry.
And that's the game changer here. It enables developers to build more equitable relationships directly with players.
Right. By owning that relationship, they get better customer tracking, more flexibility in pricing, and yes, ultimately higher margins. It shifts the economic balance, even if just a little, in favor of developers. It's like
Yeah.
creating an economic level playing field.
However, I would still argue that Apple's grip on the overall discovery and ecosystem cannot be underestimated. Even if developers take more revenue directly, it's still Apple's store that many players use as their gateway.
That's a valid critique. While developers gain more control over transactions, breaking away completely from Apple's ecosystem isn't feasible. It's more of a complementary strategy than a total pivot away.
Right.
It's a balancing act.
And one has to consider the broader economic implications. Like, could this dual model lead to a sort of tiered gaming economy where branded web shops only service the most devoted gamers?
That's an interesting thought. It could lead to a segmentation where casual players remain in the in app sphere while more invested users flock to the web shop for better deals
I see your
and
point.
exclusivity.
In that case, developers might even have to decide on pricing and bundling strategies that appeal to both segments. That's some sophisticated business modeling ahead.
Precisely. And as more studios adopt these hybrid models, it might eventually force Apple to reevaluate its fee structures. If enough revenue starts coming through alternative channels, you could see a shift in how platform fees evolve over time. It's
Absolutely.
all interconnected.
One thing that stands out is the notion that the Epic vs. Apple ruling didn't completely break Apple's dominance, but it sure did crack the facade just enough for new opportunities.
Exactly. It's like a small crack in a fortress wall that allows um, a little light to come in. Developers now have a foothold to re engineer their economics and reclaim, at least partially, that market power.
That's a vivid way to put it. So, in summary, while the ruling isn't a free ride away from Apple's ecosystem, it signals a turning point where innovation in payment methods, like the D2C web shop, is becoming a real strategic option.
Absolutely. It's a nuanced victory. Developers gain new tools to improve margins, direct customer engagement soars, and companies like Xsola are seizing the moment to provide robust, compliant solutions. It really does mark a
Yeah.
shift in the mobile gaming economy.
And though a complete unraveling of Apple's power seems far off, even a modest rebalancing could reshape the industry's future.
Exactly. It's not about overthrowing a tech giant overnight, but about bit by bit carving out a space where developers can thrive on their own terms. A
Indeed.
slow but significant evolution.
Well, that's a wrap then. A deep look at how one ruling is setting off ripple effects in mobile gaming economics. It's been a fascinating discussion.